Hello and welcome. And this week it is debt week. So we're going to be talking about debt, how to avoid it, how to get out of it, and all those sorts of things. But just a quick note on disclaimers. So you've seen it all before, not regulated, not financial advice that we're giving. This is literally just stuff that I've done, stuff the other guys have done, stuff we talked about in the group. It may or may not continue to work. So at the end of the day, please do your own research. And there we go. Righty. So debt. Do you have a hole in your swag bag? In week 2, we looked at fixing the holes in your boat. So essentially doing your cash flow, working out where your money is going off to, what money you've got coming in, and making sure that you've got more money coming in than going out. Because the thing is, what a lot of people in many countries fall into is what is called lifestyle creep. So as they earn more, they spend more, and it's about really developing good financial habits as early as possible so that you can create a positive net income every month, and then you've got something to save and invest. So that we covered, as I say, in week 2. So that's good. So yes, please do make sure. And here are some surprising people who've ended up with lots and lots of debt. We have top left there is Nicolas Cage. He earned loads of money. In fact, for quite a while, he was one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood, and he forgot he had to pay tax. So I think he ended up with about a 40-50 million pound tax, not pound, dollars tax bill that he couldn't actually pay. So he filed for bankruptcy. Will Smith, top right there. Again, he did brilliantly well when he first kicked off his music career. First year, won loads of Grammys, loads of awards, loads of money coming in, spent it all on buying stuff. So second year, when he didn't win the awards and all that sort of stuff, he couldn't even afford to pay for petrol or gas for his car. He had to borrow money from a friend to do it. Fortunately, since then, he got his role in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and learnt his lesson, and now is a very savvy financial person. Michael Jackson at the bottom there. When he died, he was $400 million in debt. He had announced a tour where he was hoping to repay it all. Unfortunately, he died before he managed to do that tour. But, you know, amazing music icon, earned so much money and yet ended up in so much debt. How? And then we have everyone's favorite president, Trump. Interesting chap there. He's never personally filed for bankruptcy. However, more than 6 of his hotels and casinos have filed for bankruptcy when they were billions, not millions, billions of dollars in debt. And this was somebody who ran his election campaign on the basis that he would run the country like a business. Yeah. So there we go. 4 quite surprising people who you would have thought would know better. As I say, fortunately, Will Smith, he does now. The rest of them are not so sure. And I can't remember who that was. So we'll skip over him. Right then. So if we remember quickly the practical steps to getting wealthy, the first one is set up your emergency fund. Make sure you've got about £1,000 or equivalent of your local currency just for those emergencies, you know, just for repairing the car if you've got it, repairing the dishwasher, repairing stuff, a surprise medical bill or prescription or new glasses or whatever it is. Make sure that you can cover, you know, some good costs without having to go into debt. Next, pay off any expensive debt. And by expensive debt, I'm talking about stuff that is over sort of 6%, but we'll come back to that later. Increase your emergency fund to 3 to 6 months, whatever you're comfortable with. There is no one way of doing this. There's no you should. These are all things you could do. And it's a balance between where you are financially and where you are mentally. So some people want to have 1 month's emergency fund, other people want to have 12 months emergency fund. Really, it's how you feel within yourself and within your head as to where you need to be before you start investing. And to be fair, 3 and 4, they're not binary. You can do them both at the same time. So you could be putting half and half into your emergency fund and into your investment fund. So, or another percentage. As I say, it's really what works up in your head, what you're comfortable with, what means you can sleep at night. So a few stats for you. A third of Brits have savings of less than £600. Okay, that is very, very little. And 10%, no savings at all. So what happens? Something happens, money goes on the credit card. Or they have to go and borrow money at crazy, crazy rates. So there we go. In November 2020, so 2 years ago, there was 1.7 billion in debt to UK individuals. So that is, you know, crazy amount of money. I'm just going to skip through these figures a little bit, and then you can see that credit card debt averaged over £2,000 per household. I mean, that really is a crazy amount of money, and it's not always necessary. In some cases, it is required to stick something on your credit card so you're through to the next month. But as much as you can, obviously try and avoid those things. Okay. And a little statistic there, if you had a minimum repayment of £55, then that means you would pay off your credit card in around 5 years, and you would have paid a lot of interest. So what do you do if your income drops? Basically see where you can cut back. What things are there that you can cut out, and try your hardest, please try your hardest not to put anything on the credit card, because it will make it that much harder to build up the savings once the income comes back again. And if you do have a big gap between what was your income and your expenditure, hopefully you will have a good emergency fund to tide you over that period where the income has dropped. Yeah. So in terms of debt, there are kind of 3 levels of debt to look at. So at the bottom, there's kind of debt which is there, but no need to rush to pay it off. That's typically something like your mortgage, which up until this month was hopefully 3% or lower. So if you have a mortgage in that sort of area, I would say you really want to be aware of when it is coming up for renewal. If you've got a fixed rate period that is coming up in the next sort of 1, 2, 3 years, then please do ensure that you have put some money aside to maybe pay off a bit extra, because it's very much looking like that when insurance rates come to renew over the next few years, they are going to be much higher than 5%. So at the moment, I think the average mortgage is looking at around 6.5%. So that pushes it into the area where you really want to be sort of paying it off when you can. So that sort of grey area that we come to is the 3 to 6%. And that's well, how does it sit with you? How are you feeling about it? If you take that on average over a long-term period, so we're talking a 10 to 15 year period, your global tracker fund on average returns about 8 to 10%. And that's on average on what it's done over the last sort of decade or two. Doesn't mean it is going to carry on doing that, because we're in kind of weird financial times at the moment. So we need to work out what's going on there. I mean, at the end of the day, nobody really knows what's going to happen. And really wild, crazy things can happen as well, which totally throw things off. So don't try and predict is all I can say. The good news is that at the moment everything's on sale, because you know the prices have gone down again to where they were like 18 months ago or so. So it is a good time in theory to buy in some more. So that 3 to 6% is the, well, what is going to help you sleep at night sort of area. Is it paying off your debt, or is it investing, or doing a bit of both? You know, again, it's not binary. Then we come to anything over 6%. Now, I sort of said the average returns on the global tracker fund are, you know, sort of 10%ish. There's no guarantee they're going to stay there, and there's no guarantee that they will not be down one year and then up a lot the next year, or down a few years and then up years after that. You cannot really chart out how it's going to be. So over 6%, it is, I feel, a sensible option to pay that debt off as quickly as possible. And certainly if you're getting to 8-10%, you want to be paying that off before you really start doing anything else, or at least that's certainly what I would do. So how can we go about that? Well, check out your credit rating if you can find it. A lot of apps do it now for free, so it's well worth checking that out. A few of the banks offer it. I know NatWest do. If you've got a NatWest account, in the app you can go in and say, what's my credit rating? Interestingly, my credit rating has gone down over the last few months because I've stopped using my credit cards. So because they're sitting there with a zero balance and I haven't got any debt going on to them, which I'm then paying off, they're saying that, well, they don't know how I can manage debt. So my credit rating's gone down. So I think that's a bit crazy, but there we go. If you have got credit card debt and other high rate debt, do see if you can negotiate it down. I can just give them a call, say, you know, I really want to pay this back, but the interest rate is crippling me and I'm going to not be able to pay it back. So give me a lower rate. Or if you can get a 0% balance transfer for a period, it is well worth looking at that. If you can't, then there are personal loans, there's debt consolidation, and a whole bunch of other things like that, which we can chat about later. Oh, there we go. See, consolidation into a personal loan. Okie dokes. So how do we go about paying off debt? Well, we pay it off from the top down. And what that means is you essentially order your debts in interest rate order. So the highest interest rate, so if you've got a 27% interest card or a 30% interest card, whichever your highest rate is, that is the one that goes at the top. That is the one you want to pay off first. The other thing you must remember is to pay your minimum payments on all of your debts every month. Because if you don't do that, then whoever it is that holds that debt will bill you extra. So they will charge you interest, and then they will charge you penalties, and they will charge you fees and all sorts of things. So please do make sure you are paying the minimums on everything that you have. Anything that you've got left over at the end of the month, rather than going, oh, wow, we got 50 quid left over. What are we going to go? Let's go out and sploosh it. Maybe save a 10 or 20 quid from it. You could do, and you know, go get yourself a nice takeaway or something, do something nice, or you could go for a walk in the countryside or at the beach, which doesn't cost anything at all, apart from the petrol to get there, or the bus fare or the train fare, depending on how you're going. But that money, if you do have money left over at the end of the month, it is well worth buying your freedom. It is well worth buying back your time from being in debt. And so pay off your highest rate interest card. You'll be surprised actually how quickly those can all get paid off. The other thing to watch out for is if you have moved debt onto a 0% finance card, or you've taken a special and splurged on a 0% card, do know when the rate ends. And when the rate ends, how much is it going to go up to? Because you may well find that you've got money sitting on a 0% interest card, you're paying off the minimum balance, you suddenly get to the end of that offer term and you've got this balance that you hadn't really accounted for, which is suddenly at 35% or something. So please, please, please do watch out for those. And then when you've paid one off, when you've paid off that top one, that money that you were putting into that top one, put all of it into paying off the next one. And when that second one is paid off, put all of that into paying off the third one, and then the fourth one and the fifth one, however many you've got, and keep going. And the amount that you are knocking off your debt every single month will just grow and grow and grow until it's gone. And then when you get to the end of that, that money you'll be able to put into your emergency fund and into your investments and save it for you rather than giving it to someone else. Okay. Debt really, as it said, is a symptom. It's a symptom of money not being looked after, not being thought about. And we talked about values and beliefs last time. If you don't hold money to a value, or if you think that money is bad, or it's the cause of all evil, or all these sorts of things, rather than money as a tool, then you aren't really going to be in a place where you will be sort of gathering in money. So there's all these sorts of things that can happen. Emergencies, if you've got an emergency fund, you're sorted. Okay. Overspending, as it says there, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can read. Debt, you want it to stay away as much as possible, because you will feel so much better for it. So please, I ask you, if you're not doing so already, do your monthly cash flow, do your monthly net worth, and just make sure you know what is happening with your money. And if you do have debt, use the debt attack strategy to wipe it out. Because debt does have a real effect on you personally. It has an effect on your mental well-being, and not just yours, but also those around you, because you generally, I'm generalizing here, generally, if you have debt, if you have the stress, if you have those pressures, you are really going to be not in a great place, and chances are you will end up affecting those around you. So try this if you can. Try a credit card free month. Even better, credit card free 3 months. That's what I'm doing at the moment. I've stopped using my credit cards. I'm just using my bank debit card, so I can absolutely get clarity over how much I'm spending in a month, where it's going, and so that I've got a good idea of where I can save, where potentially I could spend a little bit more, because I'm not very good at spending at all. I've finally bought some light fittings for my flat after having lived in it for a year. I no longer have bare pendants with bare bulbs on. I do now have proper light fittings. So yeah, that only took me a year. Okie dokes. And then the homework from last week and a little bit from this week. So from the cash flow thing, make a plan of attack for your debt if you do have some. If you have kids, maybe do some work with them. and so they can understand the importance of it and everything, and just enjoy money, essentially. Enjoy moving out of the space of it being taboo to talk about money, where finance is a dirty word, where, you know, the more we can talk about it, the more we can bring it out into the open, the more we can understand about it, and the more we can share thoughts and ideas, especially with younger people. It is incredible the freedom that you can create for yourself. And how can you increase your gap? Either reduce expenditure or increase income. Don't forget the drawing gear. Don't forget the Rebel Entrepreneur podcast. Plenty of ideas there. Okay, well, that's it for this week. If you have any questions or comments, I'm going to stop the recording now. And those of you who are live, we're going to have a Q&A session. Those of you who are watching back on YouTube, you can put comments down below and we will come back to you. Okay, thank you for coming.